Hello everybody, it's Catherine from Jayne Catherine on Books, and I thought I'd just bring you a review video just to let you know what I've been reading and enjoying while I've been convalescing, and there might be one or two books here that you can add to your own TBRs, so yeah, let's have a look. So first I want to show you 84,000 by Claire North. Now this is new. It did come out in 2017, but it's a brand new book for me, and it's a dystopian, and it's been likened to The Handmaid's Tale. And as you know, dystopian's not really fantasy, science fiction, that sort of thing is not really my bag. But occasionally I end up finding a little gem, so I never say never. And Claire North's writing is quite revered, especially in my library book club. Some of the older members really rave about her writing, especially when they read the 15 Lives. Is it the 15 Lives of Harry August, or the last 15 Lives of Harry August? I've got it on my bookshelf somewhere, but I can't think where it is at the minute to show you. And they really loved that. And unfortunately, it was a 1-star for me. I ended up, I really tried to persevere with it, but I ended up DNFing it in the end. I just couldn't get on with it at all, so I was quite disappointed. And it says, Theo Miller knows the value of human life to the very last penny. Working in the criminal audit office, he assesses each crime that crosses his desk and makes sure the correct debt to society is paid in full. So basically we're in a future dystopian our world, and every time a crime is committed, then there's an office that works out how much people are going to be charged for their crimes, really, even murder. And this guy, Theo, works in the office that does all this. It sounds a bit like an accounts office, really, and he does all the calculations, and they work out individually. You know, you've murdered somebody, but you were a nicer person than that person when he murdered somebody, so you don't have to pay as much, that sort of thing. Anyway, his ex-lover is killed, and the plot continues from there, and he gets more and more involved in the mystery, I should say, what's happening. Couldn't get on with it, so DNF'd it. I think it's one. Oh, can you hear now? Nelson's getting all his squeaky toys out. I think it's one I perhaps send to my eldest son, because they're the sort of books that he enjoys. Then next, 3-star read for me, and I'll put a picture up here. It's Normal People by Sally Rooney. And Sally Rooney is getting quite a lot of hype on BookTube. Her first book, Conversations with Friends, you know, sort of went the rounds of BookTube. I read Conversations with Friends and I thought that it was okay. I enjoyed it. I think that was a 3-star for me, but it didn't blow me away, and I didn't feel it was worth the hype. But, you know, I always give everybody a chance, and, you know, some people, that's why we're all individuals, we all read different things, you know, it'd be a boring world if we all liked everything the same. But I thought, right, Normal People is really doing the rounds and getting the rave reviews again. And my best book buddy, as you know, Kiernan from Woman vs Books, she absolutely loved it, and I trust her judgment. We're very, very similar in most genres, so I thought I would give it a go. Now, if you don't know about this, it's Sally Rooney seems to do very character-driven pieces and observations of life, shall we say. And we've got the two main characters in here, Connell. Can't talk, I was going to call him Corin then. Connell and Marianne. They both come from very different backgrounds, and so because of that, at school they don't sort of acknowledge that they like each other or there's any sort of relationship going on. And you know, it's really about young love, the observations of that, and you know, the difficulties of when you come from different backgrounds or, you know, different religions, that sort of thing. I have to say, you know, it was another 3-star read for me. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the aspects of, you know, the idea, really, the premise of the young love and how difficult it is when you come from different backgrounds. But I found that I couldn't relate to Connell and Marianne. And I think because of that, because it was such a big part of what this book was about, I couldn't relate. How can we say? I could relate thinking back to when I was, you know, a young teenager, you know, young adult. But because I didn't care so much for their characters, I didn't really care what happened to them. So, you know, unfortunately, it was a good read for me. It wasn't fantastic read. So a good 3 stars, and I think I'm in the minority, really. So, you know, we all have our own views, don't we? So let's have a look what we got next. A 3.5 read was The Sick Rose. Put it that side for you, by Erin Kelly. Now, you know, he said, she said fame. Erin Kelly has written a lot of crime fiction mystery books, and I think He Said, She Said is the one that easily rolls off most people's tongues when they think about it. Yes, I enjoyed this. You know, she writes a good story. She has good characters. I did like the characters in this. We've got Paul and Louisa. We've got Paul, who's committed a crime, and instead of sort of going to prison, he is sent to participate in it's a bit like he was sent. There's a big project going on in a stately home where they're doing the gardens up, so he was sent to be part of this project to see if they could be, you know, people, young adults could be reformed rather than they go to prison. And yeah, it's an interesting plot. We've got a bit of romance in there, and it was a good ending, and yeah, I enjoyed it. Didn't blow me away, but a good solid 3 stars. The Sick Rose. Then for my Penguin Challenge for last month, I'm doing the Penguin Challenge every month. One of the books they recommended for me was a love story for a bewildered girl. For bewildered girls, sorry. This is by Emma Morgan. Now, it's strange that I read this similar time to Normal People by Sally Rooney, because I feel that the writing in this, it's a style that's sort of similar to Sally Rooney. So I think if you are a Sally Rooney fan, I think you will love this. And it's observations of people, observations of character. There is some plot line running through this, relationship plot lines, but I think the essence of this is characters and how they behave, and you know, it's a good piece of work. I really enjoyed it, and I have to say, for me, Emma Morgan is the better writer. Similar, you know, in my view, similar sort of writing style and observational writing style to Sally Rooney, but I have to say, I really enjoyed this. This was a 4-star read for me. I liked the characters. I mean, on it says Grace loves a woman, Annie loves a man, and Violet isn't sure. So these 3 girls, we've got lovely female friendship in here. We have, you know, looking out for each other, caring what happens to each of them. We've got some good GLBTQIA plus rep in here. Very well represented, very nicely done, I felt. And yeah, I think you should give it a try. I'd not personally heard of this before, but I certainly, if you're a Sally Rooney fan, I think you would love it. Yeah. Okay, so let me just have a quick look who I've got next. We're on to 4 stars now. The Familiars and Stacey Hall's. What a lovely cover. I don't know if you can see that. It's got the most fantastic, I mean the naked hardback has got the gorgeous spine. How lovely would that be on the shelf? And I'll have to show you the end papers as well, because they are really, really stunning. And 4-star, excellent book. This is historical fiction. I thoroughly enjoyed this. Now this is set in Lancashire, and it is set around the time when they had the witch trials there, the Pendle witch trials. Now actually we have stayed not in that area. A few years ago we went for a week. There's some beautiful parts to go and visit over in Lancashire, and at that time The Lonely came out. Andrew Hurley, I think, is it Andrew somebody? I think it's Andrew Hurley. And we stayed all around the area where that book was set, and also we did see the Pendle witch trial. But we didn't actually have time to really go into that in great detail, but it's something that really interested me. I am fascinated by historical fiction involving witches, because I think they weren't really, they were very psychic people, what we'd call today, you know, whether you'd have white witches, you would have people that do, what is it where they do all the, not osteopath, where they do with the herbs and different...
Homeopath.
Homeopath, yes, thank you, David. Homeopath, people that do clairvoyance, mediumship, all the psychic, you know, esoteric things that happen. You know, they'd be burnt at the stake back in the day, as said that there were witches. So I'm really fascinated in that. There is a fox in here, which is symbolic in a way. I think this fox is a spirit animal, really. So thoroughly enjoyed this. I think this is a debut, and I think excellently written. And we are following really the main character called Fleetwood Shuttleworth, and she is married to sort of the lord of the manor, shall we say, landowner Richard, and she does have problems conceiving children and has problems with miscarriage, etc. And so she, on this pregnancy, which is no spoiler, she asks for the help of Alice Gray, a local midwife, but she's quite a mysterious character, and she's seen sort of being friends, shall we say, with the witch community, as it were. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and yeah, it was quite nearly a 5-star read. I think I would have preferred a bit more of a dynamic ending. I think there's a decent plot in there. You could even say there's a little bit of magical realism in there, because this fox keeps showing up, as if he's keeping an eye on her and helping her out. Yeah, I don't say too much because I think it'll spoil the plot, really. But I loved it. I really did enjoy it. And, you know, it makes you think about history, especially in this country, just how at the whim of whoever was the king or queen, you know, running the country, as to who was killed, who was in, who was out, you know, who was in favour or not. You know, oh, I don't like witches, well, you know, they used to either if they burnt, they were a witch. What was it? If they burnt, they were a witch, but if they threw them in the water and they drowned, they weren't a witch, but they were still dead because they drowned. It was something like that they used to do to them, which was awful, really. And then I've got 2 5 stars to discuss with you. Now, picked this up, the Vintage Springtime Club, and this was part of from the works in the UK, 3 for £5, and as you know, I had a box full for March Mystery Madness. This is by Beatrice Meier, and you know, I thought this was just going to be a nice, light, fluffy, really enjoyable read, and it was so much more. It was so much more. It's a realistic and actually very tongue-in-cheek humoristic look at middle age. The characters in here were sort of late 50s like myself, early 60s just into retirement, and they decide that they're going to, there's so many characters decide that they're going to do like a flat share, because they're all lonely and don't want to live on their own. So they decide they're going to do this flat share, and they don't know each other really. There's just a vague acquaintance between them, and it really is fantastic book. It looks at friendship. It looks at having a sense of responsibility. One of them becomes ill. I won't say too much about that. And how they all rally round and look after them. And they hardly know this person, but they've got this sense of responsibility. They try to do the best. It shows you all about the inadequacies in social care to a certain extent. There's mother-daughter relationship in here, and some of the angst that goes with that. And also it looks at nursing home provision and what it must feel like to think that, you know, I would hate to think that at my age, you know, at 59, that something happened and you know, you'd have to be considered put in a nursing home. And it's all about those things. Now, I don't need to put off, because I know there's a lot of younger readers think, oh, you know, it sounds a bit fuddy-duddy-ish or whatever. It isn't. It's quite funny. It's quite humorous in places. There's some good romance going on here. And obviously, the ones, those of you that are similar age to me will appreciate, you know, there's finding new love, and, you know, sort of the personal side, the sexual side of finding a new partner when you get, you know, into your late 50s, early 60s. It must be like going back to being a teenager again, you know. But it brought a tear to my eye. It was a very emotional read. There's a lovely little dog in here as well, which little sausage dog, or we always call them sausage dogs over here, but a little dachshund. And I think it's beautiful. The author is actually German, but she actually is a translator at Dusseldorf University, so hasn't been translated into the English as such, because she did run that herself. Oh, it was, sorry, I beg your pardon. It was translated from the German by Simon Pear. So she must be a translator from German to something else then, otherwise she'd have done it herself, wouldn't she? I would have thought so. So look out for that, you know. It's I've not heard of it before. It doesn't seem to get any sort of rep. It was £2 from the works because it was part of the deal that was on, and it was a 5-star read for me. Brilliant. So the final book to talk about, this heavy hardback that makes your wrist ache when you're holding it up, is The Killer in Me. Now, this is Olivia Kiernan. Now, I was asked to be part of the blog tour for this because I read her first book last year. It's a police procedural series featuring not Frankie Kiernan at all, because it's Olivia Kiernan, the author. Frankie Sheehan. And she's a great badass character, you know. She's got to a senior position in the police force in the UK. I actually think it's over in Ireland. And yeah, she's a great character. The book 1 was really good. I gave that 4 stars. Very dark, very gritty, not for the faint-hearted. So I was really honoured to be asked by the publishers to be part of this and to put up my reviews and everything. So in this one, straight away you get the sense and feel of what sort of character Frankie is. You could read this as a standalone, but I always think in these police procedurals or police crime series, they're better read in order. I think you get more out of it, but it could be read, you know. You get this the character. She's got a new second in command called Baz. I really like him. I really think he's got her back. I really enjoyed his character, so I'm hoping he's going to stay. We get introduced to the rest of the team, which, you know, there's some quirky characters in there, so that's interesting. The plot, you couldn't put this down. I could have put it down. The plot had got so many twists and turns, took you down blind alleys. You know, there must have been about 4 different people I thought was the actual murderer, because we do get a murderer too in here. And yeah, I couldn't put it down. She's got this knack of doing exceptional characters, exceptionally thrilling plot, and the ending was a bit of a gasp out loud. I didn't see that ending coming. I sort of perhaps thought the person was involved slightly, but I didn't see that ending coming, and it really is a goodness me. And I think if you like police procedurals, there's not too much of police procedural in it. There's more in this, but I feel that it's very well integrated into the plot. It's not just stuck in there for the sake of it like you find with some police procedurals. It was integrated in. It was very interesting, actually. So yes, it's dark and gritty. Some of the forensics are in graphic detail, so if you don't like anything like that, it won't be for you. If you love Patricia Cornwall and you followed the Case Scarpetta series, the forensic scientist Case Scarpetta, and especially in the early days, you know, probably the first 6 or 7 books that for me were her best, then you'll love this, because I really think that Olivia Kiernan is going to write a series that just is like, you know, as magnificent as I felt Patricia Cornwall books were. So yeah, praise indeed. So that is that one. Just briefly before we go, I've started reading the 13 Reasons Why by J. Asher. This is my Penguin challenge for this month. It's been a bit heavy going, shall we say, until I said on here that it's the international bestseller as seen on Netflix. So we are watching the series on Netflix. We're up to about number 5, I think, and it's all making more sense. There are a lot of characters in here, and I just felt a little bit overwhelmed with them all at the beginning, and I couldn't make sense who was who, what was what, and I have to admit I was struggling. Now watching the series, and they do say it's very similar to the book, I've got more of a feel for the characters, and I think then the book will be easier to carry on with. The essence of this is that Clay, we've got a young lad, senior, probably like what we call sixth form over here, you know, the 17, 18 year olds just doing advanced education. I know over in America you have a different schooling system there. It's not quite the same, but he comes home from school and he finds a box of tapes, the old tape recorder tapes, not CDs or anything like that, and they are from one of his friends who, unfortunately, she decided to take her own life. She was Hannah Baker, and this is 13 reasons why. There is 13 people that she wants to discuss why they played a part in her feeling like she had no choice but to commit suicide. And I think there's some very important things for us to learn from this, and certainly by watching the TV adaptation, you get more of a feel of the impact of what everybody's done. I don't think so far it's quite had the impact on me that the show has, I've got to be honest. So Clay is one of 13, and I really think, well, goodness me, can't wait to get to the end to find out what everybody did to make this girl feel that she had no choice. There's a lot of issues, I think, to be discussed in here. A lot of peer pressure. Social media has a big part to play. And also, there's a lot of, not necessarily social media, but sending people photographs that really give a wrong impression of people, and once that photograph's done the rounds of everybody in that school, then that has a big impact. So I'll let you know more about that when I've finished it. So yeah, that's 13 Reasons Why, Jayne Asher. There we go then. Hope there's one or two in there that you like the sound of. Let me know if you've not seen some of these and you're now tempted to give them a read. And I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.